NP246 auto track transfer case. This one's out of a 2001 Yukon XL K1500, and we're gonna go ahead and get the pump rub issue fixed up and show a couple different options here. We're worried about getting these coated bolts off. They came off pretty easy, just whizzed them, and then the rest just blew off with air, and we used a pick on a couple and they all broke loose super easy. Alright guys, struggled to get this thing apart, to get the captive snap ring in here free. Easiest thing to do. Dicked around with this forever. Stood this up like this, just supported the front output shaft and the studs here, and broke all the bolts loose, removed all the bolts. This broke free like butter, just a screwdriver. There's a spot to pry here and here, and then at that point just squeeze this with some good snap ring pliers. Those worked fine, and the whole case just lifted right off. This, I was kind of questioning whether there was anything wrong, and then I looked a little closer and it looks like we're probably almost through the case here, so we'll get this pulled off. Alright, so there's the little hardened steel clip that goes right there. When I first looked at this, it actually looked really good, but then you see that, and I think that is almost through the case, but not quite. Here's the back side. Will be right there. Spotted this, actually was looking in here with a camera for what ended up being a transmission issue, and saw this doing this. And that is because that little guy sits down in there, and this thing was just beaten through the side of the case. All right, here's the reseal kit from it's from TransStar. There's the part number. Purchased from Transmax LLC on eBay. Comes with input seal, both output seals, gasket, some O-rings. We're gonna find out if it has the pump O-ring because we really want to replace that. And then here is the GM fix for this problem. This little clip here, and you can see the part number. I think this was like $7. This is actually worse, and this would slide over. I don't know which way it goes. It's either that way or the other way, but one way or the other. But either way, this is covering even less surface area and beating on a smaller space in here. So that's no good. This is the China Amazon copy, a Low Star branded, of the Adaptacase BRNY case saver deal. This one would slide over top of that. I'll show you. Like that. And it would sit in here. Do it one-handed for best performance. It would sit in here like that, which at first glance seems like it might be okay when it's just sitting in here. This corner's contacting before that one, and I can't rotate it into that spot. But when I pick it up, as if, you know, this thing's actually together and supported by a bearing, well, now I'm beating on my already beat up spot in the case. So definitely no good. Send that back too. All right, this is a rebrand of a China copy of the pump half that replaces the backside of the pump there. Thought this one might be better because it's some guy who's on YouTube, but take a look at this. This one was, I think, $40. Comes without glue, comes with a gasket, comes without Loctite. But this one, let's see here. This, where the pump rotor sits, that might not be able to tell, but this is absolutely not flat whatsoever. So again, well, and I don't know how this one fits. I guess we can take a look. Let's see here. All right, so that one's not too bad. It actually does not hit that area, but I would not want to do that to my pump. Have it on that surface there. So we're gonna send that back. This one I was very hesitant to spend the money on. It's actually why I bought these different ones to take a look at. I'm sending back the ones that I'm not using. It's pretty pricey, Merchant Automotive, but they obviously have built a brand name for themselves, and they sell these everywhere. This is the one that all the truck guys know about. Looks a lot prettier on the backside. Don't care whatsoever about that, but much nicer machining. And again, it looks shattered. It's actually very, very smooth. And this is the one that I feel comfortable running. This one comes with glue. I hadn't heard of this brand of RTV, but it is an actual company. You can look them up on Google, and they have a website. I didn't read through it or anything, but they have an actual website, so that's a plus. And it comes with thread locker, so that's nice of them. And oh, this one does also come with a gasket. But I think this is going to be the one, unless for some reason it doesn't fit right. No, I'm happy with that. It does come close to touching that, but it's not actually touching, and it's going to have to wear through these three other legs before it actually creates a problem. So we'll put that together, and that's how we're going to run it. There's the pump pickup. The bottom of this was covered in junk. All this silicone down here, that was all stuck on the bottom of the pickup. There's more over there, and there's the magnet that sits right underneath it. So I would definitely clean that out. And if you do put magnetic drain plugs in, which I didn't get any, don't throw that away like the guy in the video says. Just leave it in there. The more magnets, the better. I'll go ahead and pull this pump off. Pretty easy. Just one snap ring, really stiff snap ring, but everything just lifts out. So all these parts actually look really clean, other than all the silicone that I pulled out of here. I'm going to take another look before I slap this back together and make sure I got everything I could. Which I don't think it's going to really hurt any of these big gears or anything. But definitely don't want it to clog up the pickup on the pump. I wanted to note that before I take this apart and start looking at the other one here, there is no play in this. This feels like it's in really good shape. We're getting these bolts thread locked back in and torqued to 80 inch-pounds. Just want to note, I'm not sure what they say in the instructions, but I would strongly recommend coating your new pump body with some AutoTrack. Alright, transferring the parts over. There's the old one. Actually looks really good on the inside. Unforeseen annoyance here that I have not seen mentioned. These bolts did not want to go back in, and when I pulled one back out, I could see little metal shavings on it that I think just came out of the other pump half, the original pump half. I didn't see anything on the new part. So I took them all out, blew these out with air, blew the bolts off with air, and now they're going in, and just do it by hand. Alright, so I just discovered, trying to put these bolts in, the reason why they don't want to go in, or part of the reason why, and why I had a couple little bits of metal. You can see this. Well, let me get you on a white backdrop here, something that won't wash out. Well, get light. Camera's jumping around on me because it doesn't like what I'm doing here. Let's try that. That is triangular bolt, and that's why they didn't have thread locker on them to begin with, and they want you to put thread locker on them. They're meant to lock in there and not back out. So having trouble getting the last one in. Alright, so I said 80 inch-pounds based on what Merchant Automotive said. I didn't even get to 40 on the torque wrench, and I was extremely uncomfortable, so I tightened these by hand. They're tight, and they're Loctited, and they're not coming out. And it's going to be fine. This TranStar kit, I mentioned the pump O-ring that I really wanted to replace, could not find it individually anywhere. Again, I think this was like 12 bucks or something ridiculous. I do have a new one right here, so we're gonna definitely put that in and maybe put some of these other seals in. I'm just feeling the clearance here like I did with the old pump before I took it apart. There is maybe just barely more up and down movement, which is just fine because you want it just a tiny bit loose rather than a tiny bit too tight. So I think they did good. So this came with seals for the two sensors that have to come out to replace the pump half. And then that's for the front output speed sensor. And I believe these are going to be, these thick ones, are going to be for these anchors, which aren't coming out right now. And then you've got your input and both output seals. Got her all back together. Nice glob of silicone all the way around. Let her dry. Be ready to go when the 4L60 is ready to go back in. Be ready for another, where are we at? 240,000 miles and 22 years.